In 2026, I set out to travel all over the continent of Oceania. Here's a summary of my progress so far. In February 2026, I traveled to Nauru, the smallest republic on Earth. The weather wasn't great when I arrived, but a friendly local gave me a bike ride to Anibare, from where I walked along the coast until I got to my accommodation in Ewa Lodge. I got a rental car and drove around the island, saw the local fishing, sketched the historic cantilever loading wharves, walked around Buada Lagoon and interviewed a friendly Nauruan Australian high schooler, saw the interior pinnacles left from their phosphate mining past, walked around the capital, bought souvenirs, met a traveler that is visiting every country in the world, and played chess with a local. Even got a shout out from an iconic traveler. Nauru was an incredible first experience in the Pacific. In March 2026, I traveled to Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea. I walked the streets of the city, made a sketch of the parliament, visited the museum and the Aviation Heritage Center, went to Bomana Cemetery, walked in Ella Beach, got souvenirs, and caught a flight to Honiara in the Solomon Islands, where I visited the Central Market, the Scouts Memorial, the Botanical Garden, the National Museum, the American Memorial, the Japanese Memorial, walked from Bonege Beach all the way to the city, where I saw shipwrecks, and went to Nauru Falls on my last day. This was a full-on trip and I wish I could have visited for longer. In April 2026, I did a Royal Caribbean cruise with my wife to visit Vanuatu and New Caledonia. We anchored in Ninium Island of Vanuatu, where we had the chance to explore the beautiful beaches just before going on a cultural tour to Anaitam Island, where the locals live. The next day we spent the day exploring Noumea, the capital of New Caledonia, and met a friendly local in the morning that insisted in giving us a free tour of her city. We are forever grateful for this as we managed to get to the most iconic spots of Noumea before the groups of tourists invaded. We got to see St. Joseph Cathedral, La Place des Cocotières, Carriveo Community Space, Notre Dame du Pacifique, the Zoo in Parc Forestier, and the famous Ouen Toro, before having a tasty lunch at the Stone Grill restaurant. The next day we went to Port Vila, the capital of Vanuatu, and due to a long process to disembark from the cruise, we ended up having only 4 or 5 hours to explore. But we still managed to see the local market, walk around and buy souvenirs, interact with locals, try their kava drink and dealt with the side effects of it, and still had some time to make a quick sketch of the harbor. In May 2026, we visited Aotearoa, or New Zealand, for 10 days. We landed in Wellington and explored the capital for a couple of hours before heading to Masterton, where we stayed for a little over 24 hours to visit a friend. We then flew to Christchurch, where we picked up a van from Juicy to do a road trip in the South Island. Our van had an issue on day 2, which made us lose 1 day of traveling, but we still managed to do everything we set out to do, like try the Fairley Bakery pies, hike in Lake Tekapu, sketch on the summit of Mount John, see Lake Pukaki, hike in Mount Cook, see Lindy's Pass, visit Wanaka, check out Arrowtown, explore Glenorchy, and walk around Queenstown. This was a very intense trip and we hope to return to the South Island somewhere in the future. In June 2026, I returned to Aotearoa, this time by myself with the main goal of visiting Niue. I decided to take some time to explore Auckland since I was in transit, and I'm glad I did since I had an awesome time despite the gloomy weather. I went to say hi to the Sky Tower before checking in my accommodation that turned out to be in an old train station. I walked around at night, and the next day I visited the War Memorial Museum, went up to the Sky Tower and had an awesome meat pie up there, caught a ferry to Devonport, and met another traveler that agreed to give me his testimony of what it is like to live in New Zealand as a migrant worker. The next day I caught a flight to Niue. I got picked up by my host and we chatted about what it is like to live in Niue and the struggles they are facing. I saw the sunset in Avatele Beach, visited the sculpture park, hiked the popular Togo Chasm, and did a quick sketch there too, hiked to the Tavala Arches, walked in Uluvehi Sea Trail, went inside the famous Palaha Cave, faced my fears in Anapala Chasm, snorkeled in Matapa Chasm, filmed the inside of the museum illegally, relaxed at the Utuku Reef, went snorkeling along the west coastline with Niue Blue Tours, where I saw schools of fish, swam with snakes, saw blowholes, and explored the belly of the whale cave. I finished my trip going fishing with locals along Avatele coast. If we count my trip to Tasmania right at the start of 2026, this was actually a total of 8 Oceania nations explored in 6 different trips over the course of 6 months. Oceania takes more time and money to explore than any other continent on Earth, and I'm super happy with my progress so far. So let's see how much more I can explore.